In this video, I'm going to show you how to take a Google Doc and the text from within it to pass it through the OpenAI text-to-speech API and generate an audio version of the document in question. So just to show you what we'll build, it runs the generate text-to-speech, and it'll actually add an MP3 file in the drive folder that the document is currently in. And so I'm going to suggest that you make this doc in a template gallery setting so that you can easily do this in the future. So it's finished running the script, and now over here in that folder is the audio file.
The current state of nuclear energy in the United States. Nuclear energy has long been a controversial topic in the United States, with proponents highlighting its potential as a clean and reliable energy source, and opponents raising concerns about safety, waste disposal, and proliferation risks. This blog post delves into the current state of nuclear energy in the U.S., exploring key policy debates, the emergence of small modular reactors, SMRs, progress towards cold fusion, and other important developments. Small modular reactors, SMRs.
So that's great. Let's get into how to build it. So as I mentioned, this is a blank document in the template gallery. I'll show you at the end how to add that. And I'm just going to generate a quick document. This is just an example, but you could get a sense that if you copied some text over from a Google Doc, that would be a very interesting way of using this. I've actually thought maybe a Chrome extension could be a fun project to build, that you could basically highlight text and then it would generate an audio clip in like a podcast form. So open up the extensions app script. I'm gonna make it a little bigger. I've already added an onOpen function, which is how I got this text-to-speech menu added. And so that's just a helpful starting point. I also have a get parent folder helpful function, and all of this code will be in the description below at my GitHub. And let's quickly take a look at the text-to-speech documentation. Looking at the JavaScript code, looks like it just takes in this object, which we will actually just copy over to test. I also like to look at the curl to see what the URL is, the endpoint to ping, and some of the headers, and this is actually a good starting points. I'll come back to that. So I'm going to create function text to speech, which is what we named it here. And I'm going to const URL equals, we'll get that URL in a second. I'm also going to const payload is equal to what we just copied. The one or a few changes, these will all be in quotes, and you can choose which voice to use. I'm using Alloy, which is what it defaults to in the docs, but you can pick any of them. So actually we'll just pick Ash just to show you, probably lowercase. And as I mentioned, go back over here and grab the URL, paste that in. We also need to get an API key. So go to settings, API keys, create a new key. I'm going to put it in my project, and I'm just going to call it YouTube API key so that I know to delete it later. Copy that in quotes, paste in the API key, And then we're also going to say headers equals, let's go back to the docs and the text to speech. And the headers look something like this. So actually for Google Apps Script to work, it needs to be a method post, content type, application, JSON, and then you put the headers in another object where that authorization, the capitalization I think is important. And then I'm going to interpolate API key. And that little tick is backtick, I think, is how you just inject whatever is saved as this variable. So it could be any variable, but I'm saving that above. And finally, the payload, we're going to stringify that payload that we wrote above. Then we're going to get the response from the URL fetch app.fetch. We're going to pass in the URL that we saved above. And this is actually up here. And the headers, which includes the payload. I just like to keep those separate. Let's actually log out the response and just make sure it's working. So logger.log response. Command S to save. You select the function to run. And let's just see what is. Okay, interesting. That must be what an audio file looks like in text, which is good because that's what we want. So actually what I'm going to do here is use the Drive app, create file, and I'm going to get the response, and I'm going to get as, and that get as is looking for the MIME type to convert the file to. And I believe it's audio MPEG, MPEG. I'm going to set the name. I would like to set the name to the title of the document that we're creating an audio version of. And let's just go up here and actually get that document title. So I'm going to say let body equal document app dot get active document and get body. Get the body's text. So that we can log out and just make sure. Same thing for the title, only this time we'll say get name. So now we have the title that we will set the audio file to be named. Command S and Command run. Review those permissions again. Now you'll see
Today is a wonderful day to build something people love.
Hell yeah, that's pretty cool. It just works super easily. But now what I'm going to do is pass in, instead of this boilerplate text, I'm going to say body. And let's use those ticks again to interpolate the body as a string as to the input. And we also, I added a function in here that is helpful to get the parent folder. So I'm going to bring that up. And again, this code will all be here. And what we're going to do is get the folder ID. So const folder ID equals get parent folder. We'll just call that function. And now here we're going to say move to drive app dot get folder by ID. And we're going to pass in that folder ID. I'm going to click Command S to save that. I don't know. I'm going to give this project a name, text to speech. I like doing that, even though I haven't done it till now. And I'll drop a link to the Drive app documentation so you can see like where I got this information to create a file, to move a file, and all of that good stuff. So let's run this again now that we have some text in here about Cold Fusion that just had AI generate, but as an example. And let me actually refresh this and see if, okay, the text to speech got here. So I'm going to generate that. Okay, that finished running.
Cold fusion reactors have a long and storied history, dating back to the early days of nuclear research. In the 1950s, scientists began to explore the possibility of using cold fusion to generate energy, but these efforts were largely unsuccessful.
So that's really cool. So what I would recommend now that this works is to delete the text in here. So it's a blank document. So at the beginning, I promised I would tell you how to use the template gallery. So go to new doc and this little caret on the right from a template. And there's the submit template button and you select a document. That's how you can leverage the template across your gallery, across yourself or others within your Google Drive. And now when you go into your Google, a new item, Google Docs from a template, select that text-to-speech template. And now whatever you put in there and then run generate text, it will generate an MP3 file for you to listen at your leisure. This is a really fun project to build. I have ideas on how to extend it even further. But I would love your feedback and any requests, any issues you run into, or ideas for future videos.